Hello. In this video, I will explain the vocabulary from some famous commentary from English football. This clip shows the return of Cristiano Ronaldo to Manchester United, and the commentator is the famous British commentator Peter Drury. Now, I warn you, this clip, it's kind of difficult. A lot of the language is very complicated. This level is probably upper advanced level, okay? So don't worry if you don't understand all of the words. We will break it down bit by bit. But the commentary really is beautiful. He uses some really nice words. So let's take a look at this clip now.
Madeira, Manchester, Madrid, Turin, and Manchester again. Wreathed in red. Restored to this great gallery of the game. A walking work of art. Vintage, beyond valuation, beyond forgery or imitation. 18 years since that trembling teenager of touch and tease first tiptoed onto this storied stage. Now in his immaculate maturity, CR7 reunited.
So, let's break it down part by part. The first bit of the video, the commentator is just listing the places which Cristiano Ronaldo has played in, the cities or towns. So he starts with Madeira, which is in Portugal, and then says Manchester, Madrid, Turin, where of course Juventus play, and Manchester again. So he just says these 5 places. He lists those. And then the first part, let's look at this first word. He says wreathed, wreathed, okay? Wreathed in red. Now, this is not a very common verb in English, but it can be used as a noun. A wreath is normally some kind of plant decoration that people will put on their doors. This is particularly common in the UK, for example, at Christmas. People put a Christmas wreath on their door as a kind of celebration. But of course, in this context, it's a verb, wreathed, okay? And it means something similar, like surrounded or covered in something. So he says wreathed in red, which means he's talking about Ronaldo, the player. He's covered in red because he's wearing the red kit. And then he says restored to this great gallery of the game. Okay, restored. If you restore something, you return it. Okay. Normally, they talk about something is restored if it was broken and then it's been fixed. So they're saying that Ronaldo is restored to this great gallery of the game. Okay, gallery, of course, usually means art gallery. So he's describing the Premier League as this gallery of the game. So a gallery is where you can show works of art, and the Premier League is where they can show the artists, I guess, which will be the players. So, wreathed in red, restored to this great gallery of the game. Now, this part is my favourite part. He uses some repetition. The word beyond, of course, you would have heard this before. It's both a preposition and an adverb, but he repeats this part. And he says beyond valuation. Okay? So if something is beyond something, it's further away or it's more than this, okay? So when he says beyond valuation, it means outside or more than valuation. And this word, it comes from the word value, okay? Like money has a value. Beyond valuation is the general concept, okay? So it's the concept of deciding how much something is worth. So if something or someone is beyond valuation, it means that they're priceless. No amount of money can buy this, okay? So maybe this is not technically true for football players because, of course, they can be bought for some money. But this is the way the commentator is using this. He means priceless. So he's so valuable that money can't buy it. Beyond valuation. And then he repeats, beyond forgery or imitation. Beyond forgery or imitation. Now, These words, forgery and imitation, they're both nouns and they have a similar meaning in English. Forgery is a crime of copying something to make it your own. Like if you forge somebody's bank card, it means you make a copy of the bank card in order to take their money. So forgery is normally a negative word in English. Okay, a negative noun, a crime. Imitation is something similar. It's also about copying, but this one, it's not a crime. So imitation is not a crime, but it's when you copy someone. If you imitate someone, maybe you try to sound like them or you try to dress like them. These would be examples of imitation. So the commentator here, Peter Drury, is saying that Ronaldo is beyond valuation. Money can't buy him. He's beyond forgery or imitation. No one can copy him. Okay. And then he says, 18 years since this trembling teenager of touch and tease. Okay, so let's start with trembling. This is the verb. Trembling means kind of shaking in a way. So if you're very scared, you will be shaking a little bit, moving a little bit. So this is normally because you're frightened or you're angry or sometimes because you're excited. But I think in this context, he's talking about 18 years ago, Ronaldo first played for Man United and he was very nervous. So he was trembling. He was shaking a little bit. So since this trembling teenager, of course, someone who is aged between 13 and 19, in English we call these teenagers because all the numbers end in teen. Since this trembling teenager of touch and tease. In this context, touch is a noun. Touch and tease. Touch refers to Ronaldo's control of the ball. In football, we call this your touch. So your first touch, we normally talk about. It's how well you can control the ball. So he's saying that Ronaldo has very good control of the ball. And tease is referring to him tempting opponents. If you tease opponents, it's normally a negative thing for the opponent. It means that they try to get the ball, but they can't. They feel like they might get close, but then he'll do a kind of trick or something to tease the opponents. So this is what the meaning is here. He will confuse opponents with the way he plays. So 18 years since the trembling teenager of touch and tease. Of course, we have a lot of tease here. This is called alliteration in English, when you start each word with the same letter. Trembling teenager, touch and tease. Then the alliteration continues. He says tiptoed. Tiptoed. So this is the verb. Of course, tiptoes is like your fingertips right on the end of your toes. And it's normally something that we associate with someone who is a dancer, not a footballer. But in this context, he's saying that Ronaldo plays in such a beautiful way that he looks like a dancer tiptoeing around people. Tiptoed onto this storied stage. Storied stage. So down here, this adjective storied means often spoken or written about. So it's very famous, in other words. And the stage he's talking about is the stadium, Manchester United Stadium, which is called Old Trafford, of course. But the nickname is the Theatre of Dreams. Now, this has a link to stage, of course, because a stage is the part of a theatre where the actors perform. So he's comparing Old Trafford to a theatre and talking about the storied stage, so the famous stadium. And finally, right down here at the end of my board, it has the phrase immaculate maturity. The commentator says, now in his immaculate maturity. So immaculate here is an adjective and it means perfect. Perfect. So Ronaldo is in his perfect maturity. And maturity is about acting emotionally and mentally like an adult. So it's saying that Ronaldo is now an adult, comparing it to a teenager, which is probably not mature, to an adult. He's now in his perfect adult phase. Or we can say he's in his prime. So this is how the commentator refers to him, in his immaculate maturity. And then the final thing Peter Drury says is CR7. CR are of course his initials, Cristiano Ronaldo, and 7 is his number. CR7 reunited. And of course reunited means people who were apart are now back together. And this has a double meaning in English because Ronaldo is reunited with his team, Manchester United, but also reunited has the word united as part of it. So this is why he ends the video saying CR7 reunited.